It was an ordinary day and I retired to bed at night as usual. At the crack of dawn, I thought a near-death dream had occurred. Instantly, I saw myself between two higher beings and an uncle who had died only a few months prior. The four of us were in an environment different from anything I'd ever seen or venture to recall. We were standing upon a circular platform with little dark pebbles sealed with a sort of brown mortar. In the middle of this platform, there was a smaller circular platform, raised about a foot higher and some 6 feet in diameter, perhaps like a raised step or a podium. This smaller circular platform in the middle determined the distance which we kept from each other. The larger circular platform where we stood had to have some 13 feet in diameter, in such a way that we were comfortable standing on it, along with the raised smaller circular platform in the center. On the edge of the circle that comprised of the smaller platform, there didn't even seem to be a discernible step, but rather an intensely bright light, which for some reason did not cause my eyes to squint as expected. It was as if we were in the middle of a radiant pool of white light. Strangely, that peculiar scene inspired no fearful concerns, wary qualms, nor doubt. It was as though it were not even possible to form any value judgment about a possibly inhospitable environment. Looking around above the scintillating bright white light, there was golden glow that seemed to traverse the entire horizon, a light that also did not sting. It was not possible to figure out the ambient temperature, humidity, nor any odor. Now, I will describe the beings that I felt and saw. The two heavenly beings were imposing, with a stature a bit taller than the average person. I'd wager that they were around 7 feet tall to my uncle's 5 feet 6 inches, who seemed diminutive next to them. The first higher being I recognized as Archangel Michael. He had a fit frame, healthy with smooth neck-length, dirty blonde hair and hazel eyes. He wore a kind of Greek tunic with a fabric like Kevlar military attire, with light Chardonnay coloring and detailing in white. In the region of the large joints, it had small protective coverings seemingly made of a coppery material. His feet were also covered with copper-toned footwear. In his left hand, he wielded a copper-colored sword, which at times became inflamed, and his right hand showed an outstretched palm where one could see beneath the alabaster skin where there would ordinarily be blood vessels. Instead of the typical blue, it was greenish. I could not perceive thoracic breath-like movements, and although his countenance had lips betraying a discernible smile, he conveyed all communications through telepathy, in which he discreetly moved his right hand. The second higher being I recognized as Archangel Raphael. He had a fit frame, healthy and wavy chestnut shoulder-length hair, with the left eye dark brown and right eye bluish-gray. His flesh was also pale marble white, but with a caramel hue. He also wore a type of Greek tunic but long, similar to that of Greek philosophers of olden times. The color was light yellow with black accenting. In his right hand, he carried a staff wrought of weathered wood, which looked extremely aged. In his left hand he carried a transparent amphora in which it was possible to peer through it and see a flame within. Although some readers may envision a lantern, for some reason I cannot explain the round shape that had a crystalline sphere that pointed to another object altogether. Due to the tunic being floor-length, I could not see his feet, and his skin did not feature the kind of greenish blood vessels of the other being. Most of the time, this one also communicated via telepathy, seemingly to be in agreement with the other being. My uncle, in contrast, wore linen clothing that had a pleasing scarlet green. The shirt and trousers had a dashing cut and perfect fit. My uncle was barefoot, and he communicated with me and the other beings through plain words. I was quite happy to see him, as he seemed to be at peace, speaking with a soft voice and radiating confidence. The first being to communicate with me telepathically was Archangel Michael. He informed me that my Earth mission had concluded, and that the celestial beings were pleased to receive me. They recognized in me a person who made a solid effort to follow the teachings of Christ and who gave to other people as much as he could. With gusto, they recalled pivotal moments in my life when I was tempted by Satan and his minions, but I had resisted by paying the price of choosing a more difficult earthly path. Some of those episodes I prefer not to delve into here, as they involve other people who in some form or another tried to bribe or manipulate me, and if I reported them, I could now suffer legal repercussions or even imprisonment in the authoritarian state that Brazil is fast becoming. They reviewed moments in my life where heavenly intervention took place, and which up until then I considered only strange and odd situations, such as in infancy when I manifested symptoms deemed to be childhood cancer like lymph nodes, weight loss, anemia. After Archangel Michael accounted for these facts related to my life story and Archangel Raphael expressed minor comments, it was Archangel Raphael's turn to telepathically speak. He spoke of the future of my family and my country. Unfortunately, the news about my country was horrible. A period of tribulations would begin soon enough, with many conflicts and deaths of innocents. A popular uprising would lead to civil war by the end of the decade, with extreme suffering in store for the followers of Christ, of which would probably be defeated by the installation of a bloodthirsty dictatorship for many years. And in the middle of it all would be my wife and son. I felt a despair knowing that my son would grow up in an emotionally unhealthy environment. I felt profound pain from envisioning the suffering that my son would face. Toward the end, Archangel Raphael drew a breath. Future generations would restore peace again. Only a brief period for celestial beings, but it would be quite a protracted period for human beings. I felt besieged with great anguish and desperation, a deep sense of helplessness and frustration. In tears, I begged the higher beings to send me back to my life. My wife and son needed me more than ever, in view of what they revealed to me about the future. Archangel Michael warned me that in returning, I would live through all that suffering with them, an enormous ordeal I could bypass by joining my uncle. Archangel Raphael explained that having already completed my earthly mission, in order to return, I would be entrusted with a new mission revealed over time. He was taken aback in respect for my willingness to return out of sheer love for my wife and for my son. I bid farewell to my uncle, who assured me of the total well-being of other relatives who had already crossed over, and that they would all completely understand my choice to postpone my reunion with them. He embraced me tenderly and turned around to walk back. At that instant, Archangel Raphael lifted his amphora, which seemed to intensify the flame within. Archangel Michael touched the amphora, and his hand was as if sealed by the flame. And then he brought that flame to my chest. Upon feeling the flame upon my heart, I felt the most intense degree of burning I'd ever experienced, as if my whole body combusted in hot flames. Immediately, my eyelids fluttered open. I was panting and drenched in sweat. The feeling of burning endured, and I scrambled to check my temperature only to be surprised that the thermometer read 95 degrees Fahrenheit, 35 degrees Celsius. Not knowing exactly what to do with the sensation of burning along with the objective knowledge of hypothermia, I drew a warm bath at 3 a.m. I figured the bathwater would temper the subjective feeling of burning while also raising my objective temperature of 95 degrees Fahrenheit, 35 degrees Celsius. I must have spent 2 hours soaking in that bath. During that period, I noticed my smartwatch logging extreme heart palpitations and hyperventilation. Two days later, I got to the hospital to do an evaluation to verify whether I had something serious, and that's when they discovered the thrombosis. While I was hospitalized, I reviewed the smartwatch logs and noted that the heart palpitations and hyperventilation lasted a few hours that fateful morning. I still feel nauseous and frightened about the future. As I write this, The televised event of 1,400 individuals, Brazilians, have been arrested by the arbitrary decision of a lone Supreme Court justice. There were zero legal proceedings involving the public ministry, the Republic's attorney, nor the federal plenary power of the Supreme Court. This story was shared by Dr. Fabio and happened in 2022.